Royal Canadian Sea Cadets is a Canadian national youth program sponsored by the Canadian Forces and the Civilian Navy League of Canada, administered by the Canadian Forces. The program is funded through the Department of National Defence, with a civilian partner providing support in the local community. Cadets are civilians, they are not members of the Canadian Forces. General information, along with the Royal Canadian Army Cadets and Royal Canadian Air Cadets. Royal Canadian Sea Cadets is a Canadian cadet organization, although the RCSC and the other cadet programs are sponsored by the Canadian Forces and the civilian leagues. Cadets are not regular members of the forces, and are not expected to join the regular Canadian Forces. In keeping with Commonwealth custom, the Royal Canadian Sea Cadets stand first in the order of precedence, before the Royal Canadian Army and Air Cadets. This is in keeping with the Royal Navy's status as the senior service, a tradition common to most Commonwealth navies. Boys and girls aged 12 to the 18th of May joined the RCSC. There is no enrollment fee and uniforms alone at no charge. The organization and rank system is similar to that of the Royal Canadian Navy. Cadets are appointed to non-commissioned member ranks, and are technically so members of the 5th Canadian Naval Reserve level. Adult leadership is provided by members of the Canadian Forces Reserve Subcomponent Cadet Organization Administration and Training Service, composed mostly of officers of the Cadet Instructor Cadre branch, supplemented, if necessary, by contracted civilian instructors, authorized adult volunteers, and, on occasion, officers and non-commissioned members of other CF branches. The CIC branch is specifically trained to serve the Royal Canadian Sea, Army, and Air Cadet training programs, and like all reservists come from all walks of life and all parts of the community. Some are former cadets, and many have former regular or reserve force service. Badge. The badge is the service crest of the RCSC, and is worn on cadet-issued parkas. It is also depicted on the Royal Canadian Sea Cadet ensign. Aim. The aim of Royal Canadian Sea Cadets is to develop in youth the attributes of good citizenship and leadership, promote physical fitness, and stimulate the interest of youth in the sea, land and air activities of the Canadian Forces. The RCSC shares this aim with the Army and Air Cadets, however, each discipline focuses on its own parent element. History. Early days. In 1895, due to concern over the Royal Navy's ability to provide adequate naval defense, concerned citizens formed the Navy League to promote interest in the problems of maritime trade and defense. The League formed local branches throughout the United Kingdom and in other countries of the British Empire. The earliest Canadian branch was formed in Toronto. Its warrant is dated December 10, 1895, and currently hangs in the Navy League National Office. At the time, Canadian branches supported a cadet program called the Boys Naval Brigades, aimed at encouraging young men to consider a seafaring career and provide basic training in citizenship and seamanship. Uniform. Upon joining, cadets will be issued the following items at no cost, but are required to return them upon leaving the Corps: seaman's cap, tilly hat, toque, turtleneck sweater, gun shirt, tunic, lanyard, black gloves, grey sports shirt, trousers, grey sports shorts, black belt, grey wool socks, black ankle boots, running shoes. Items such as parkas and field dress are issued as needed. Evolution. With the formation of the Canadian Naval Service in May 1910, the organization was renamed from Boys Naval Brigade to Navy League Sea Cadets, to permit closer liaison with the Navy. In 1942, King George VI graciously consented to be Admiral of the Navy League Sea Cadets, and granted the royal prefix 1946, causing another name change to the current Royal Canadian Sea Cadets. Queen Elizabeth continued this royal patronage and named His Royal Highness the Duke of Edinburgh as the Admiral of the RCSC. Finally, in 1941, the RCN became a joint partner with the Navy League in support of the RCSC girls. In 1950, the Navy League Renette Corps were established for girls aged 13 to 18 years, though some corps existed unofficially before the date. In 1975, the two programs were amalgamated and girls were officially enrolled in Sea Cadets. Memorial at the Royal Military College of Canada, outside Curry Hall in Kingston, Ontario. Stained glass windows relate to the history of the Royal Canadian Sea Cadets, donated as a tribute to all national presidents of the Navy League of Canada for the proven love of country in promoting patriotism, sea power, youth training. The window bestows honor and glory to patriotic citizens who have and will serve Canada. The window features images of the Royal Canadian Sea Cadets, Navy League Cadets and Navy League Renettes. In memory of David H. Gibson, C.B.E. National President, Navy League of Canada, 1938 to 1952. A stained glass window features images of a young sailor and guard behind the ship's wheel. The window is dedicated to Canadians who, in defense of the country, went down to the sea in ships. The window includes a poem by H.R. Gillam. Proudly in ships they sailed to sea. Ahead their goal, perhaps eternity, but with God as the pilot they had no fear, facing all danger as the course was clear. The cargo, the record of the life, some good, some bad, some peace, some strife. Navy League. Today in 1995, the Navy League of Canada celebrated its 100th anniversary. The League promotes the same subjects today as at its founding: knowledge of and support for maritime interests. On a national level, the League supports the International Exchange Program, certain scholarships, and the National Sea Cadet Regatta, while local branches provide vital logistical support to individual RCSC Corps. Individual cadets belong to units called Royal Canadian Sea Cadet Corps or Corps de Cadets de la Marine Royale Canadienne, which are the basic operating units of the program. Each corps comprises Canadian Forces officers of the Reserve Cadet Instructors Cadre branch, often assisted by civilian instructors and cadets. The entirety of a given corps organizes itself as a ship's company, employing the Naval Divisional System. Under this system, cadets become members of a division under a cadet petty officer and, ideally, a commissioned officer of the CIC. Although the officer position is sometimes filled by a civilian, cadets parade by divisions, and are expected to route grievances and requests through the chain of command, running either directly from the DPO to DVO to the executive officer to the commanding officer, or from the DPO to the cadet regulating petty officer to the cadet coxswain. The chain stops at the level able to deal with a concern. For example, a cadet's request for a new item of uniform might result in the DVO giving approval and directing the cadet to visit stores. All but the smallest corps staff several departments, typically including training, administration, and supply, while larger units maintain training support organizations, including range, band, sail training, peri and more. Each cadet corps is unique and may offer different teams depending on cadet interests. Training, administration, and supply operate under the direction of Canadian Forces staff, possibly with an adult assistant and a senior cadet, while the others, with the exception of range, are often run by a senior cadet. Units generally adhere to the school schedule, meeting weekly for mandatory training, and carrying out additional training on weekends and other weeknights. The primary meeting is referred to as a parade night, while overnight weekend training conducted at the unit's home is called a live aboard. Anything taking the unit away from its home is generally termed an exercise. Primary departments. The training department comprises the training officer, training chief, a petty officer, and a staff of senior cadets and adult staff, often with other duties within the unit, serving as instructors for the phased training program, the Basic C Cadet syllabus. The TRGCPO is often responsible for maintaining each cadet's training record, as well as handling resources and rating instructors. The administration department comprises the administration officer and administration chief, a petty officer, who wears the quill pen and scroll badge of a ship's writer, and may be referred to as such. Administration handles all incoming and outgoing mail, as well as maintaining core records other than those specifically handled by training. A supply. The supply department is composed of a supply officer, sometimes assisted by a senior cadet, who is entitled to wear the cross keys badge of a storesman. The supply department is responsible for all equipment belonging to the Corps. However, supply tends to be primarily concerned with issuing cadets uniforms and related gear. Bands often deal with their own gear, as do competitive teams. Other groups. Range team. Most units will have at least one trained range safety officer in conduct as part of the mandatory training program. Training in safe and effective marksmanship using either the Daisy air rifle, which is not rated as a firearm, and thus may be used in almost any location of sufficient size, or with the proper indoor or outdoor firing range. The .22 caliber No. 7 Lee Enfield or Anschutz bolt-action target rifles. A number of Corps field range teams, competing in cadet tri-service matches at the area, regional, and national level, while others simply offer a well-supervised recreational shooting program. The .22 rifles are, today, usually held by Corps fielding of biathlon team. The Lee Enfields are, except for the barrel, virtually indistinguishable from those used by Commonwealth forces in World War II and Korea, while the Anschutz are purpose-made target rifles. Recently, concern over lead levels resulted in the closure of indoor small arms ranges used by cadets, causing many units to search for appropriately certified and willing civilian outdoor ranges. Firearm safety is given the highest priority throughout this training. Biathlon. An increasing number of RCSC Corps have formed biathlon teams, adding a new aspect to the long-standing marksmanship programs, and encouraging a high degree of athleticism and physical fitness. Alongside those other benefits, it offers an alternate focus for landlocked units unable to offer a local sailing program. Ideally, cadets train and compete with Anschutz .22 target rifles. However, due to a lack of suitable ranges, some Corps train with air rifles in accordance with Olympic marksmanship standards. Sail. Many units run a sailing program using small dinghies, typically Echo F420 class vessels, although other comparable designs are used, including Echoes, lasers, the Olympic class 470 Flying Juniors, as well as the older albacores and international cadets. At the Corps level, the sailing program is often taught by a civilian sailing instructor, supervised by a member of the Canadian Forces. The instructor may be assisted by trained cadets. The RCSC sailing program uses Canadian Yachting Association levels and material for all training. Core sailing instruction is supported by regional sail centres, staffed by a coordinating officer. Several Canadian Yachting Association certified head instructors and volunteer staff cadet instructors. Advanced training focus on competitive sailing and race organisation. Most units larger than 30 people will try to support some sort of musical ensemble, whether drum and bugle, drum and bell, a military band, or just a drum line. A very few corps have a pipe or two, while an even smaller group maintain pipe bands, rare due to both the lack of a naval tradition of piping, and the comparative expense of the instruments. Guard, Honor Guard. Many units have a division called Guard. The Guard is a division where anyone from the rank of AB and up can join. Most units carried the old number 4 Mk, one long branch rifle, and wear webbing. The Guard is usually after the flag party in ceremonies. Boat shed. This support department handles all the water-related needs of the Corps, including maintenance of the sailing dinghies and other small craft, as well as supporting seamanship instruction off the water. Canteen, operated by the local sponsoring group with proceeds for Corps activities. The canteen typically sells pop, chips, and the like at breaks in training. Some also offer cadets various necessities such as thread, boot polish, and starch. More ambitious Corps canteens offer unit clothing, typically sweatshirts, t-shirts, belt buckles, etc., suitably emblazoned with unit insignia, mottos, and the like. Sponsoring group along with the Army Cadets and Air Cadets. The Sea Cadets make up a program sponsored by the Canadian Forces, funded primarily through the Department of National Defence. The Canadian Forces provides training, pay and allowances for Reserve Force cadet instructors, uniforms for instructors and cadets, transportation, facilities and staff for summer training. The training program and training aids and policy and regulation regarding the operation of the cadet organization. The Civilian Navy Cadet League provides local support by way of accommodation, utilities, liability insurance, transportation and training aids not provided by the CF. The primary local community sponsor for Sea Cadets is a local branch of the Navy League of Canada that is often a committee of parents supported by groups such as Royal Canadian Legion Branch, or some similar service club, i.e. Lions, Rotary, etc. Navy League branches rely on community support, in the form of direct donations of money and goods, trusts, and various forms of fundraising efforts. These last include sale of various items, much like bacon chocolate bar sales, street corner pin and tag sales by cadets, and funds raised through the attached cadet unit's own canteen. Training and ranks. For a more complete discussion of RCSC winter training, please see Royal Canadian Sea Cadet Training. In accordance with QR&O Cadets 4.11, the following are the rank badges of the Royal Canadian Sea Cadets. In addition to the rank-specific criteria given below, all appointments are subject to the approval of the cadet's commanding officer, which generally promotes based on the advice of divisional officers and unit training staff. As a note, the official phrasing for the Petty Officer-in-Chief Petty Officer ranks is Petty Officer Cadet First Class, and Chief Petty Officer Cadet First Class. Quote, however, outside of cadet administrative and training orders, and Queen's regulations and orders, custom omits cadet in casual reference. Thus, Petty Officer First Class is the customary rendering. Generally, where there is a need to distinguish between cadets and Canadian Forces members, the NCO ranks will be written or spoken as Cadet Petty Officer First Class, abbreviated as CPO1. Additionally, while it is customary customary within the organization to refer to a cadet receiving a rank as being promoted. The official documentation refers to such an act as an appointment. Rank forms of address. Junior cadets are typically addressed by the last name by all ranks. However, a superior might address them as simply cadet, especially in situations where names are not known, such as at multi-unit events. Petty officers are typically addressed by the juniors as Petty Officer so-and-so, or conversationally as P.O. Superiors and equals will often use last name only, sometimes prefacing it with Mr. or Miss. Chief Petty Officers are typically addressed by all personnel as Chief so-and-so, or conversationally as Chief. Superiors and equals will rarely use last name only, though superiors might replace Chief with Mr. or Miss. Additionally, cadets often hold an appointment in addition to the rank, and many of these are used as an alternate form of address, especially the following: coxswain, corps gunner, chief gunner, or gunner's mate, drum major, bugler, messenger, and bosun, bosun's mate, chief bosun's mate, and chief bosun. In formal situations, for example, being called up for an award or promotion, a cadet's full rank and last name is often used. Summer training. Summer training centers, officially termed as either Sea Cadet Summer Training Centers or establishments, and referred to colloquially year-round as camps, and by their ship's company over the summer as the base, provide additional training intended to support a complement that offered at the home unit from September to June. Across the board, cadets applying for summer training must have 75% attendance over the winter training year, as well as meeting certain course prerequisites. Summer training facilities are staffed by members of the Canadian Forces, primarily members of the CIC, but also including other branches of the CF, and senior cadets selected for employment as staff cadets. Sea Cadet STCs are commanded by a CIC officer of the rank of commander. Most employ staff cadets at the ranks of Petty Officer 2nd Class through Chief Petty Officer 1st Class, with a CPO-1 being appointed as cadet coxswain. Additionally, some employ staff cadets at the rank of leading cadet for support positions. Staff cadets are paid at a percentage of a CF Naval Cadet's basic pay. The centers are commissioned as stone frigates, which is to say, naval shore establishments granted much the same standing as a seagoing unit. Current Sea Cadet Summer Training Centers SCSDCHMCS Quadra, located in Comox, British Columbia, has operated as a Sea Cadet training facility since 1953. It was commissioned in 1956 and is the second largest summer training facility. It employs over 100 officers and 150 staff cadets each year. The center occupies Goose Spit opposite Comox, and makes use of Highlands Secondary School as an auxiliary training facility for classroom work, first aid, and music training. Quadra is the only Sea Cadet training center in Canada to include all 4 trades plus 2 of the 3 specialty trades. Cadets undergoing training as bosuns and marine engineers also undergo training in damage control at CFB Esquimalt. Quadra plays host to a number of international exchange cadets. In recent years, these have included contingents from Korea, Japan, the United States, United Kingdom, Germany, Sweden, Australia, New Zealand, Bermuda, and the Netherlands. CTCHMCS Ontario, located in Kingston, Ontario. HMCS Ontario Sea Cadet Summer Training Centre began life as Cadets Camp Frontenac on the 4th of July 1977. and was officially redesignated as HMCS Ontario Cadets Summer Training Establishment on 13 July 1981, thus allowing Ontario to expand and to offer a wider range of training opportunities to Sea Cadets from across Ontario and Canada in disciplines such as music, sail, seamanship, drill and ceremonial, and the 2-week general training course, all of which includes sports, first aid, instructional technique, and leadership training. The course duration of 2, 3 and 6 weeks represent ascending levels of experience and greater challenge, and provides a definitive learning experience for cadets, designed to augment and enhance training from the hometown corps. In the summer months, Ontario's small cadre of full-time staff are supplemented by 110 officers, non-commissioned member and civilian instructors of the Codes, and over 100 Sea Cadets who are offered summer employment as staff cadets. Ontario delivers training to over 800 cadets, young men and women aged 12 to 18. In addition to its primary mission of summer training, HMCS Ontario is also a year-round operation, responsible for sail training and the operational standards of 9 sail centres and a staff of 80 part-time officers and civilian instructors who staff the sail centres located across the province of Ontario in the spring and fall. Since 1982, HMCS Ontario's main headquarters has been located at CFB Kingston, with the main summer training centre located on the grounds of the Royal Military College. The centre takes its name from HMCS Ontario. In Minotaur-class light cruisers are built for the Royal Navy as HMS Minotaur, but transferred to the Royal Canadian Navy on completion and renamed Ontario. SCSDC HMCS Acadia, located in Cornwallis, Nova Scotia, is the largest summer training facility. During the course of the summer, Acadia is home to roughly 1,200 cadets who are undergoing training. Acadia provides training in music, sail, drill and ceremonial, fitness and sports, seamanship, and marksmanship. It is known for a strong Royal Canadian Air Cadet presence amongst both course and staff cadets. HMCS Acadia, much like HMCS Quadra, hosts an international contingent. In 2006, HMCS Acadia celebrated 50 years as a Sea Cadet Summer Training Centre. HMCS Acadia's website. Additionally, cadets may apply for a number of tri-service courses, some hosted by Sea Cadet Summer Training Centres and others held on Army or Air Cadet facilities. Currently, various forms of music training are offered as tri-service to some extent. In past years, the Air Heavy Introduction to Aerospace course was offered as tri-service, however, this seems to have lapsed. Former SCSDC HMCS Avalon, located in St. John's, Newfoundland, was, at its closing, the smallest SCSDC in Canada. It offered training in either basic sail or beginner band. SCSDC HMCS Capel was located at the Echo Valley Conference Centre, formerly the Fort Sand Sanatorium, near Fort Capel, Saskatchewan, an hour northeast of Regina, Saskatchewan. HMCS Capel offered the introductory 2-week general training course, and trade groups 1 through 3 of the music and sail courses. HMCS Capel last offered courses in 2004. SCSDC HMCS Gimli, HMCS Quapple's predecessor, was located in Norsa, Manitoba. SCSDC HMCS Quebec, located in Saint-Angèle-de-Laval, Quebec, was the only SCSDC that was entirely francophone. It trained cadets in all 4 trades as well as the shipwright specialty course. Quebec occupied a school during the summer season. The training center opened its doors in 1975, and offered its last summer courses in 2012. Camp Tillicum, located outside of North Bay, Ontario in Calendar Bay, was a detachment of HMCS Ontario offering 2-week general training and basic leadership courses. The camp closed in 1986. SCSDC HMCS Micmac, located in the Windsor Park region of Halifax, NS. It trained cadets in bosun and submariner. The camp closed in the fall of 1988. Bosun cadets were then transferred to HMCS Acadia. Vessels. SDV Fairjean, built by Captain Thomas G. Fuller, does fall and spring youth sail training group trips on the Great Lakes and St. Lawrence Seaway for organizations such as the Royal Canadian Sea Cadets, Girl Guides of Canada, corporate groups, and for people who are working towards the Duke of Edinburgh's awards. Miscellaneous flags. The Sea Cadets used a variety of flags in the history. Some corps flew the white ensign until 1965. They then used the Canadian blue ensign and the flag of the Navy League of Canada until 1953. In that year, the Chief of Naval Service approved a design for the Royal Canadian Sea Cadet flag, a white flag with the Union flag in the canton, and, on the fly, the badge of the cadets, a gold anchor on a blue roundel surrounded by red maple leaves and surmounted by a naval crown. In 1976, the Sovereign approved a new design which replaced the Union flag in the canton with the maple leaf flag. Key personages. Admiral of the Royal Canadian Sea Cadets. The first Admiral of the Royal Canadian Sea Cadets was George VI, King of Canada, assuming the role in 1942. When the Navy League Sea Cadets became the Royal Canadian Sea Cadets, Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh, as a member of the Canadian royal family, was appointed Admiral of the Royal Canadian Sea Cadets in 1953. Canadian Forces Senior Members, Chief, Reserves and Cadets since May 2011. This post has been filled by Rear Admiral Jennifer Bennett, CMM, CD, Director General Reserves and Cadets since March 2011. This post has been filled by Brigadier General J. Milne, CD, Director of Cadets and Junior Rangers since 2013. The post has been filled by Colonel Konrad Namizniowski.